Join me today as I show you a quick and easy way to add shimmer to any die cut image. Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Altenew. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing two beautiful, just peace-invoking cards featuring the brand new Doves in Flight layering die set. This is a keyhole die set system from Altenew that is so easy to put together. And keep in mind, if you ever get lost, there is a guide on the back of the packaging, so you'll want to be sure that you save that. So I have all of the dies here removed from the packaging, and I'm going to start die cutting several of these layers from white cardstock. Now keep in mind, you could use multiple colors of cardstock, but I'm going to add a little bit of shading and a little bit of differentiation in the end with some shimmer relief paste, so stick around for that. Now for me, I like to run as many dies through my die cut machine as humanly possible with one pass. So I've stacked a bunch of these dies onto this cardstock and now I'm removing them. Now I am kind of trying to sort these out as I remove them. And if you're ever lost on which piece goes with which dove, you can always look at the keyhole. So the keyholes on each of these doves is a little bit different shaped. On this first dove, the keyhole is actually shaped like an arrow facing upward. So as I add each of these layers, I'm just making sure that those holes in the die cut layers line up, and that's going to give me a perfectly stacked image every single time. Now, another wonderful thing about the keyhole system is that many of these dies have a numbering system, so you'll know exactly which order to stack these die cuts up in. Now you can see I'm also using my Perfect Picker tool because I find that very helpful. I'm using some liquid glue, and oftentimes I will concentrate around the keyhole area to add my liquid glue. And then I'll kind of nudge things into place using my fingers to kind of make sure everything's lined up. I'm finishing this little dove off by adding his feet, and then I had the eyeball to deal with, and the eyeball die cuts on that same layer as kind of those peachy tones, and so I just laid it on a piece of white cardstock and colored it with a black marker and then nestled it into place so I wouldn't have to try to die cut that small image again. And you can see this has lots of dimension. It layers up pretty quickly and easily. Now the second dove in this set has a distinctively different shaped keyhole. It's actually more of a traditional keyhole. So you'll know that all of the parts with this shaped keyhole go together to build this second dove. And I'm just stacking these up again using liquid glue, using tweezers and my Perfect Picker tool. And you can see I have my second dove here. Now I decided to add a little bit of shimmer to these doves, and it's going to help add a little bit of shading as well. On the right edge of my paper, I've already kind of smeared on some pearl shimmer relief paste, and then I'm trying out the antique silver relief paste on this area here. I decided that the antique silver was a little too gray and maybe that the pearl was a little too white, so I'm just going to create my own custom color. I have my mixed media palette knife set. I have this little tiny palette knife. I love it so much. And I'm just grabbing a little bit of that antique silver. And then I'm going to dip in and grab a little bit of the pearl shimmer relief paste. And I'm going to mix these together to create my own custom color. This will kind of tone down some of the gray that's in that antique silver, make it a little bit more translucent or a little softer. And you can see I'm just mixing it on my work surface here. I use a glass work surface, and so this will clean up really easily. Just smearing all these colors together, and then I'll pick it up on that palette knife, and I'm going to test it out on my scrap piece of white cardstock over there just to make sure that I have a color that I'm going to be happy with. Once I know that I'm happy with this color, I can then take my finger and start just adding a light layer to the edge of my dove here. Now, truth be told, there's probably other ways and other tools that you can use to add the shimmer relief paste to areas of die cuts, but I found that I had a lot of control over the amount of product I was adding when I used my finger. I've heard of people using paintbrushes or even makeup sponges to apply it, but I really wanted to make sure that I got a light layer, and so I used my good old fingers. And trust me, This totally cringes me out to have product on my fingers. And I was a mess that day. So I wiped it up quickly with a baby wipe, and then I repeated this process with my second smaller dove as well. And you can see I have that beautiful silvery shimmer on the bottom of their wings. Now for the sentiment on my first card, and actually my second card as well, I'm using the new Craft Your Life Garden Whispers stamp set, and I'm stamping this first sentiment onto Morning Frost cardstock using Obsidian ink, and then I use the coordinating Garden Whispers die set to die cut that sentiment. Now on both of these cards, I use the Leafy Splendor stencil and coordinating embossing folder. And for card number 1, I'm using this on some white cardstock, and I have pistachio ink here and a mini ink blending tool, and I'm just adding color over that entire area. I have this positioned on my 9x12 Ultra Sticky Grid Mat here. I love this thing so much. And in order to line up the stencil, I just simply lined up the upper left-hand corner of my cardstock with the upper left-hand corner of my stencil. And that means when I go to add stencil number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to align the stencil with the upper left-hand corner of my cardstock, and this will ensure that I have both of these stencil layers in the correct position. For stencil number 2, I'm using Misty Sage ink and a mini ink blending brush. This Misty Sage ink is from the same Jade Dreams color family. It's such a beautiful, soft green color family. I love it so much. And once I'm done with all of my stenciling, I'm going to wipe down my stencil and remove it. And then I'm going to add some texture to this panel using the coordinating 3D embossing folder. So I'll just remove this from this grid mat by rolling the grid mat away from my cardstock. And then I'm going to position this into that 3D embossing folder and just lining it up with the stenciled image by looking through the embossing folder. I'll run that through my die cut machine using the recommended sandwich for a 3D embossing folder. And you can see now I have some beautiful texture on that card front as well. To position my dove, I'm using some Instant Dimension foam tape. I'm also using that same Instant Dimension foam tape to place my sentiment here on the bottom. And I did notice that there were some areas where I had gone a little bit crazy with the Shimmer Relief Paste. Now I put this on in a very, very thin layer. And so I'm just using a sand eraser to remove some of those areas where I felt like it got in places that I didn't necessarily want it. I layered this panel up onto a panel of Morning Frost cardstock, and then added that entire card front to a card base that I created with the Evening Gray cardstock, and that finishes off card number 1. Isn't that shine on that dove just absolutely beautiful? So now that we've made card number 1, let's take our second dove and create a second card project. So I have a panel of Morning Frost cardstock, and I've used the Leafy Splendor embossing folder to create some texture on this. Now, I'm going to use my finger again and add some Pearl Shimmer Relief Paste over the raised areas that this embossing folder created. This is kind of like a quick and dirty method, and you'll see that I'm again using my sand eraser to remove extra areas. If I wanted to do this in a little bit more precise way, I could have lined up the stencils over this raised area and used that to kind of protect the surrounding areas from extra shimmer paste. So again, using some Instant Dimension foam tape to add my dove as well as my sentiment onto this cardstock. That sentiment is from that Garden Whispers stamp set. And I finished card number 2 off with a layer of Pastel Sunrise behind my panel and place that on an Evening Gray card base. So there you have it, 2 cards featuring the brand new Doves in Flight layering die set. These evoke such feelings of like wedding cards and even just sending peaceful wishes to somebody. I think these are really soft and elegant designs, and I love the addition of the shimmer paste, which creates that illusion of shadow, but also adds that shine. And you know I am all about that shine. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to the coordinating blog post, and I'll have that linked in the YouTube description below as well. As always, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making tutorials shared here. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.